Welcome to Four Seas One Family, where we share thoughts and opinions concerning life in Taiwan, the region, and the world. I'm your host, James Thomas, coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan, and I'm so glad to have you traveling along with me on this journey, and welcome to the show. Now, what a long day, and a lot of things are going on. You can see the title, Implosion of the Democratic World. That's right. 民主世界毁灭. That's kind of like a story of the day, right? Now, what I'm about to say may piss off a lot of people. What I'm about to say will just anger maybe more than just a few of my countrymen. And, I just hope you listen, entirely to what I have to say before jumping to conclusions. Okay? 不能, 莫名其妙, 下结论, this is the thing we gotta try to avoid. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about the things that are going on, especially in the United States with the anti-Asian riot going on, and how certain foreign nationals, even overseas, are actually helping to accelerate all this mess going on in some Western parts of the world. And I'm going to start off a little bit. And, oh, by the way, we are also streaming on Clubhouse. And we just popped it up there about 30 minutes ago. So there's people jumping in and out. So they have no idea what I'm going to be talking about. They'll probably just read the title then and get a close thing, look at what I'm going to do. I'm just going to read from my script here from the moment. And if you would like to jump in, I can send you the link. You jump right in and have you in the waiting room. And just be kind to me, okay? Because I'm not going to take any crap, okay? So, like I said before, now what I'm about to say may anger just a few of my countrymen, right? So please listen entirely to what I have to say before you jump into conclusions. Now I hope to present a new, awakening that can help people from especially my home nation and other democratic nations as well. Now, it can be difficult sometimes to persuade people in or from your home nation that the way they see the world isn't how it really is, and in reality, right? And those who try to point this out may find themselves, becoming an outcast because they present a set of views that their countrymen may never have heard of or simply unable to accept. And this is the sad truth. So if you are one of these people that are able to think outside of the box or have experience with dealing with or living outside the country in some ways, or people from overseas or doing business or just traveling long term, I don't mean going overseas for vacations. And when you get to learn about people from different parts of the world, interact with them, and especially interact with them based on their, in their environment, or based on the way they may also see the world, you find out that people, like I always say, people have a lot more in common than they think. But you also find out that people in your home nation, they may be missing out on something. And there's a lot of reasons with that, there's a lot of reasons for that, I should say. Now, as we interact with people, especially from different cultures and backgrounds, right? We see the world and gain other, life experiences, right? Now, we learned that, unfortunately, some of the stories impressed on us related to our own country's founding and building, especially at an early age, more or less, were not based on facts or actual events, but presented in ways to mainly boost our, national proudness or national self-esteem. I mean, I remember when I was in school in the South Bronx hearing stories about some dude sitting under a tree and an apple falling on his head, and how he learned about gravity and all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about. That never happened. Or you hear a story about these great people and why the slaves were freed. It had to do with business, and that's what almost everything is involved in, right? And as you get older, you eventually you know, as you get older, you eventually find ourselves in situations or circumstances that forces us to question the information taught to us, and we later blindly believe, right? And later, or maybe hopefully eventually, right, we become able to analyze and filter out some of the inconsistencies and inaccuracies we were taught or instructed to replicate and honor. And, and this is all due to our formal education, right? So before I go deeper, this is the thing that I would like to stress out, or put in your mind on the get-go, because some of the things that we were taught, I mean, this goes for every place. I don't care if you're United States and Japan, Korea, mainland China. Some of the things that we are taught are always this heroic thing by somebody in our history who probably never existed, or maybe 70% of the person that they're talking about never existed, which most likely is a male, right? So that's another topic. But this is the unfortunate truth. And this is something that every country has this, either based on some kind of social perspective, political perspective, or religious cult perspective, something like that. This is what happens everywhere, right? And at some point in time, right, we may start to feel a little bit misled and wonder why, in some cases, we were fed these narratives, right? And what they fed us to subconsciously heighten a particular type of cultural pride or nationalism. And obviously it was designed to subconsciously or maybe purposely misinform, naive, and sometimes narrow-minded individuals. And when we see this, we're encouraged to try to share what we know. And when we do this, sometimes we hit a brick wall sometimes. We hit a brick wall sometimes. And it's hard to accept sometimes. So if we step back and try another approach, and that is to try to get those that we are trying to talk to involved in some of the ways we see the world sometimes. And it is partly education, but like I said, but let me warn you, you're not going to be able to save the world. So you're going to have to just do what you got to do. Now, the thing is that sometimes we become naive to a point where external forces can use these beliefs that we are brought up on or taught or that was embellished on us because of our formal education. And this is something that I think, as you see in the title, Implosion of the Democratic World, this is something to stay aware of, right? Now, I was taught and believed that, in my case, United States, that the nation founders provided or enabled provisions that explicitly stated that all men are created equal. Now, the reality was that it just wasn't the reality. However, I learned that these provisions were made by influential and powerful men of the time, and like most human beings of the time, they weren't perfect or incorruptible. Now, this is something that's not only particular, special or unique about where I come from, but it's just all over the world. Now, the thing is, now the common folk are the ones that are left with the remnants of certain political beliefs and ideologies. And the common folks are the ones that have to defend these wordings or placements in our society of certain icons that we were taught to honor, and sometimes honor until death. And this is the scary thing. The thing is, the common folks, like I hope like people I'm talking to right now, need to actually take shorter steps. Watch where they're stepping, meaning listen to those that you're hearing these vocarious voices and sometimes hyperbolic statements from. These are the things that common folks actually need to spend time doing. And it may sound like, the end of the world, 世界毁灭, but this is something that may be able to save the world because, like I alluded to earlier, there are nefarious forces that are using, especially in the democratic world, the free democratic world, using their liberties and laws and rights of free speech that are using these elements to propagate or push, well, how would you say, negative narratives. And this is quite unfortunate. Hello, Medes. He's in the clubhouse room. I don't know if you can get in there or not. But I will open up in a few minutes, but hold on, please. So once again, it's like the majority of these men, regardless of where you're from, right? They work together to create certain laws or constitutions for the government they were setting up of the country. And they're most likely more concerned about maintaining their wealth and or legacy. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. Now, I did allude it a little bit that there are, I like to use this word because of a friend of mine, YGZ, nefarious forces out there are using democratic nations' freedoms of speeches, freedom of movement, or freedoms of expressions to kind of like set time bombs within Western nations, within opposing groups. And some of these opposing groups, well, when people get carried away when they have a certain rights or opinions, they are sometimes set off or even promoted either through political means or financial means to heighten up their voice. So it's a game of cards, but these cards are crumbling upon themselves. You got certain external forces going into a nation and hoping that, looking for ways to weaken the alliances within the nation, putting opposing groups against each other in some ways or propelling them in certain ways, like I said, through either political means, maybe even theological means and financial means. And this is really sad. And what do we do about it? How the people, I think a lot of people, especially when we are inside, how you say, dire straits within our nation, we sometimes negate or maybe unable to see the plight other people are going through. And this is, I wouldn't call this particular case of selective amnesia, but this is something that we first have to admit that is prevalent in many parts of society. Now, the next thing is there are people in certain parts of society that feel that they are owed certain privileges or rights within a certain nations because of their lineage or because of their financial, political prowess. This is something that's a set time bomb that is destroying Western nations. Like if you look at my nation, you got so many movements going on. You got so many, where I come from is not perfect, but the best thing that I love about where I come from is that we can voice opinions. How you doing, Leon? This is the thing that people who live in under authoritarian nations just cannot do. And this is quite unfortunate. Now, what can we do at this point? What can we focus on to prevent Western nations from imploding upon each other, within? And if you look at it very carefully, and if you are able to trace some of the, sources of backings and stuff like that, you can actually see this. Like I myself, as an African American, I am not a supporter of the group Black Lives Matter, but I am a supporter of people who understand the situation in the United States and how racial disparities are being exacerbated to the point where people are dying. this week we have a very important case going in the United States where a policeman killed a person by the name of George Floyd. And I'm not going to talk about that in this episode, but things like that are tearing people in democratic nations apart. And I'm looking forward to hearing maybe in the comments below or through email, what are your comments on this? How do you see it? Now, I'm gonna back up a little bit here and see if anybody's coming in here on the other line. If not, I'm gonna keep on because I just did this impromptu, and it's right now it's 3 a.m. in the morning here, my time. Okay, there's people down here, but nobody's raising their hands, so maybe they're just listening to my big mouth. Okay, got people here, but maybe they're just watching. But if you have any questions, raise your hands and I'll look at your bio and see what we got here. Okay, so let me keep moving. Now, what's bothering me, another thing is bothering me before I go in another direction is what I see for our nationals, foreign nationals living in, from Western nations, living in under authoritarian governments, tearing down the, how would you say, the rights and opinions of their own nation. Now, everybody has their opinions and we do respect it, but I'm seeing situations, especially from pro-PRC side of certain foreign nationals from North America, especially, and Europe, pointing out that certain things that's been observed by the world is just not existing, such as the incarceration or the mistreatment of Uyghurs in mainland China. Now, this is just one thing. And the thing is, how can this be? This is a situation where I would use an example as an external forces. In this case, I would call it with deep nefarious intent that is aiding to the implosion of the United States in my country. That's what I see. Okay, we had somebody raise their hand here, but then the line dropped. So, okay. And we got two people watching. Oh my goodness, this is what happens when you do impromptu things and people have to work on the other side of the world. Hey, how you doing? It's 3 a.m. Sorry you doing, Alex, where are you? Where are you, Alex? Got Alex Lee here. I'm here just watching before bed, 3 a.m. also for me. Sorry about that. Yeah, I got a friend up in Mongolia that's watching. I can see that right now. Okay, wow. And Hong Kong. Oh, stay safe, Alex. Stay safe, okay? You understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. So is this true that Western democracies are imploding? By what? Is it our freedoms that is causing this, or is it the allowance, the way we allow nefarious or governments or even organizations who would like to see disruptions within our social and political system, the right to set up foundations, corporations, donate funds to certain, or to start groups that are just against the social cause or narrative of our nation. Hopefully it was supposed to be positive. Is this something that we can see and easily detect? It is actually. But the problem is we keep them under our protection. And I personally feel that this has to stop. Like, for example, 45, he's on his way doing his own things now. I was not a total fan of his, but I do agree with some of his opinions about protecting your own nation. Not to the point of becoming totally ridiculous that you have to withdraw from everything. Yeah, I okay, yes. Yeah, I see. Let me put this up here. Yeah. Yeah. Well, quite an opposite issue in some cases, but it is related in many ways. I think in your situation, Alex, the young generation was raised under a whole different mindset of rights and freedoms. Yes, and how you doing, Earl? And this is just the reality. But jumping back on this topic, how can we prevent the free world? I would say free world, which is not perfect. Nothing is perfectly free, from imploding on itself or stepping on itself. This is what I would like to hear other people's voices on. I don't mean to start some kind of militant or militant inertia to say something about revolution, because we know how far revolutions can go and what kind of people go down with them. Usually is innocent people. How you doing, Earl? How you doing, Earl? So yes, Alex. So I can keep going here, but this I just want to hear people's comments before I continue. There's certain people who are in certain positions in the world, and they feel they have the right, or because of their lineage, or stuff like that, they feel that they have the right to do certain things and protect things. And if this is the case, they become more like mobsters, and this is sad. Yes, but in actuality, the fact is, we used to government to justify the action. Okay. Okay. I wish I had a little bit more specifics on your comment there, but I don't. If you can, just put it in here and I'll put it up. How about you, Earl? What are you saying? Yeah. So when people are put in certain, governments or government leaders or people who with power are able to push a certain narrative, they're able to camouflage their real motives. And this is something that is shaky. Okay. Yes, I do understand what you're saying now. Okay. Yes, I do understand that. And some of those external forces are from where I come from. And yes, okay, Earl, you're right. Social media plays a part as well. And this is the thing that we noticed in the past two or several elections, right? We tracked it to, this is the game that everybody plays. We start tracking it, saying, "Oh, this is coming from the USSR, Russia, or this is programs coming from North Korea." Yes, they all play this game, but the thing is, it's the common foot folks on the ground are the ones that are having to carry the burden of the tug of warness, and this is quite something that we need to, I think, figure it out ourselves, and let the people who are making the controls, who have taken the controls. That's what word I use: taking the control of our governments and organizations. Let them know that we know what they're up to, but how far should we go with that? Alex, you should be going to bed too. Man, it's 3:08 over here. I'm not going to stay on for about 10 more minutes, but I'm just hoping to get some comments in here. Okay. It may sound like by me making these comments, I'm disappointed in my birth nation, right? And this is just this is just the opposite. This is just the opposite. I'm glad I come from a nation that, although not perfect, right, is still striving to become the dream the people of the country hope it can be, right? I am lucky that I am from that kind of nation, and also living in Taiwan. I feel it's basically the same. It's not perfect, but unlike living life under authoritarian governments, right? Or a single political party, or under a government run by a charismatic individual who maintains a tight grip over the people under control by sanctioning which narratives are promoted and allowed. This is the thing that I'm lucky of, but I feel lucky for. But the thing is, even though it's not perfect, there's still a light down the corner, down the tunnel, I should say, that people from where I'm from can still raise their voice. You know, as an African American who has a history of their lineage being slaves in the United States from 1619, this is something that I think, especially African Americans, should stay on the bright side of, if that makes any sense. A lot of people died, yes, but there also are people of all spectrums of the government that also feel that what happened in the United States, especially with African American slavery, was just wrong, and worked hard to repeal it. This is the truth. But there are certain segments that, from, say, I would say, just the African American population, that actually took advantage of it for their own personal wealth, their own personal social status. And this is true. And I think most of the folks need to just filter through that. Now, there's a comment coming here. Okay, yeah, Alex, you're a night owl. Okay, go to yes. MSN, social media celebrities, folks in political positions. Well, you know, a lot of things what people say, they do things on television for money, so they can live their lives. I found it quite interesting when I came upon an article about certain people in China who just badmouth the United States, maybe for some good reasons, but they do it. But these are the ones that end up sending their kids to Western nations, the United States, or even retiring United States or Western nations. And they end up saying things like badmouth in the US is for, you know, making money, but living is for life in the United States. So this is really maldoing, you know. What is this? Yes, I agree. You're right, Earl. With all our faults, people still come to the US. And so a lot of them do stay. Right? I mean, look, we got, you know, the guy next door has his daughter in the United States studying. And this also brings up another narrative too. When you see foreign governments, and some of these governments are adversaries, competitors, adversaries, they learn so much about the Western world because their children are allowed unlimited access in a lot of cases to certain resources. And their children are usually the brightest of the bright because they come from a lineage that can afford certain things or afford their children to have access to it. But think about this. They are able to work and sometimes have their kids working in government-sponsored programs in the West. This is great. I mean, this is cool. But how many things we can think of, how many examples we can think of, say, children of Western politicians working in government programs in, for example, in China? I don't know even one. We have Stanford in the United States that have just a crockload of international students, and they're learning a lot of what we do. And this is, you know, the way it is. But they take it back to their country, which I would do too. But it's like a case of the United States shooting itself in the foot. Not only the United States, but also the people. The people in the United States we need to become more appreciative to our own. Yeah, that's right. You're right, Earl. Zero, donut, nada, ling dian ling. This is the thing. This is the thing people back home need to wake up on. But it's kind of hard because they're stuck up in their in their local survival, and with this Guanzhang Bingdu, this Wuhan virus, this COVID-19 running around, people don't have the time to look above the clouds because they're still looking down on the ground to survive. This is something that we need to think about. And the thing is, we may be running out of time. We may be running out of time because I do believe that most people are good. Most people are good. Okay, I'm going to give myself about another 5 minutes here before I lock up. Most people are good. You know, nations that have, provisions that protect their citizens' rights, at the very least, allows opposing opinions to be heard and discussed, which is cool. Oh, let me see. Oh, like Randy says, reciprocity. Okay, Randy's referring to what's Randy's show? It's not Luzo Lawai anymore. It's Black and Abroad in Asia, I think it is, right? Yeah. Yeah, Randy, he has to keep his head down a little bit, but he has the umphs for many things. Yes. Yeah, you're right. It has, it's like being doing magic, you have people looking at the left hand, but the right foot is kicking you in the butt. And this is the sad thing, right? This is the sad thing. Yeah, Black and Abroad in Asia. Right. I haven't spoken to him in about 2 or 3 months. Maybe I should try to hook up with him, but I don't think he answers his emails very much. At least not from me. Hint, Randy. Okay, it's 3:16 here. Yeah, the virus did cause people to look on one side and cause people to dig in. And the situation back in my home nation is very rough because it was not handled properly at the most important time. And also people back home just were not willing to follow certain rules by people in the know of, wearing masks and, shutting down a little bit. I mean, it doesn't mean to shut down businesses because businesses need to run, right? But the thing is, we have to be able to respect each other's health because nobody wants to be able to take that sickness back home and stuff like that. Yep. Look, we got people down here in Clubhouse, but they just got 19 people there. So maybe I'm talking about something that's to make people nervous. But look, I'm going to back out here. It's my bedtime too. And got to get up, got to work tomorrow. And, guys, if you have, thanks for the few 5 or 6 people that jumped in there because I did not announce this earlier. Leave a message below and I will pop it in. I will pop it in here. Let me see. What is this? In normal times, Miramar would be given more work. Yes, it's true. Yes, and that is a bomb that's going there, man. This is very unfortunate. And I'm watching the news coming out of there, and I don't have any personal connections there right now, but I feel for the people because, when you have this kind of government uprising, 政变等等, it is really, really scary. It is scary. What is this, Earl? That's all, a quarter of the people not following rules? Look, Earl, a lot of people was more interested in getting a haircut than following. The thing is, rules, we have to design rules where people can still function because you have to eat, you have to pay the bills. It's just that if people just agreed on protecting each other, oh, okay. Okay. From where you're from, right. If people disagree to protect each other and respect each other's space and health, we'll all be in good shape. But when you got certain people that's actually claiming that what is being said is just totally not real, it's fake, this is the problem. And people need to learn or open their minds to a little bit more about what science is all about. Science is just to be able to prove a certain fact, a conclusion over and over again. That's science, not opinion. Okay, I'm going to back out of here. Thank you in Clubhouse. And people here, I'm going to go to bed like what Earl said. Thanks a lot for jumping in here. And maybe next time I'll set up a better time where people can jump in. Take care, guys. And oh, let me see what you say. Is Taiwan getting flyby? Oh, yeah. Yes, we are. I'm waiting for your message to pop up here. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we still getting those flyovers. Look, Alex, I wish I had more time with you guys, and I wish I was a little bit more prepared, but I just threw it out here. All right. Look, guys, take care. Have a wonderful week. 再见. Peace. Oh, remember, people have a lot more in common than they think. Peace.